Just a show of hands, how many of you are intending to make the film for this competition? Just want to get like a grasp. Don't be shy. Don't need to scare of competition, just raise up your hands. Okay, quite good. So, just a quick introductory. I am Kyle Ong. I am a filmmaker and podcaster. You may know me from Ghost Maps and more recently the TV show Incredible Tales, which we recently brought back. Yeah. So, jumping quickly, I started where you guys started. Filmmaker is like such a big role, and podcaster now also. But there's many things that I actually do. I mainly direct, I produce, and I'll do podcasts. But also, sometimes no budget, right? Then you have to do everything else yourself. So this is the journey that you guys, most of you will probably take on when you do this competition. Yeah. So because I didn't have a budget for my podcast, so I had to host myself. So that's one skill that I had to pick up, and I'm sure that some of you would actually act in your own short film, which is completely fine. Yeah. So just take note that even though there's expensive equipment, there's all this, right? It doesn't matter. Story is king. So a simple story, right, like as explained by Josiah, can be explained in one sentence, like very easily, one sentence, and there's a typo there. Sorry for that. Yeah. So, for example, right, like when you tell a long-winded story to your friend, and then as the time goes by, you see the interest in your story fades. Your friend is gone already. Don't even listen to you already. So that's what is effectively important for filmmaking and creating compelling stories. A story that can be told in one sentence. That's the golden rule that we actually use. If it cannot be told in one sentence, then probably you need to rethink of the premise of the story. So I'm going to give you guys really bad examples, in a sense Batman. A man finds out that money can't buy you happiness or parents. So basically you explain the plot line really badly, but essentially he dresses up as a bat and beats up villains. So that's one sentence. So something like that. Or Batman versus Superman. Two orphans fight in the rain. You get it already. If you watch the film, you get it okay. So they are talking about Batman versus Superman. Okay? So there's 3 steps to filmmaking. One, which is pre-production, which is you first find out what you want to tell, what story you want to tell. You do your research, you do your casting, you do your prepping, your location recce, you find your location, you find your actors, you find your equipment, you find your money. So that all happens in pre-production in a very simplistic manner. And then there's the production, which is the actual shoot. Usually 1-2 days you're done, like a 3-minute shot. 1-2 days you should be done. But the prep work will take about probably a week or more, not including the writing process of the script. Usually the script is the longest in terms of pre-production. And then you have your post-production, which is the edit, which is also, ironically enough, one of the longest periods. Actually the production one, very fast. Yeah. Unless, you need to do reshoots. Okay, I'm going to jump right in. Shot sizes. Anybody know what is shot sizes? Refresh your mind, you just went through just now, briefly. Shot sizes, what? Shot sizes? You're wearing a Hasselblad shirt, you should know . Okay, shot sizes basically means the sizes of different shots. Okay? I'll start from close-up. Usually, when you use a close-up shot, right, you're trying to show either detail, like writing, right, or emotion. Why do you think Mediacorp, right, whenever there's drama, right, the person crying, they always go for a close-up one? Because that's the easiest way to express a complex emotion. Someone is crying, someone is angry, someone is emoting. So usually we will go for close-up. Yeah. So, and it also goes back to the whole idea of planning, right? When you're doing your storyboard, you need to understand why is this character getting a close-up? Why am I punching into a close-up for this person? Therefore, you need to understand the emotions that comes with for it. And of course, watching a lot of films, you start to see similarities. So just now that one was extreme close-up and this one was close-up, right? So actually they are not that different in a sense whereby when you look at extreme close-up, usually it's a macro shot, okay? Then close-up is more of the face lah, okay? So the next one will be medium close-up, okay? Medium close-up is usually you can see a bit more of the body and you want to show a little bit of the surroundings. It is to show the character enclosed in a space. Most of the shots that I've chosen specifically for the examples is to showcase the emotional aspect, as you can tell. If I were to use a documentary, it would be completely different lah. So you would need to really dial into your story before you actually think of the shots. The reason why we keep repeating on the story, right, is because story is king. Doesn't matter what camera you use, what equipment you use, ultimately it's still the story. It's only all these techniques, they are complementary to your story, okay? Then medium shot. A medium shot usually is used to show a wider space, like zooming out, a wider space, two people in a shot, two people in a cafe, two people at a therapist talking to each other. Sometimes we can also call it a two-shot, when there's two characters inside. By thinking about shots first, during your planning stages, you also start to think about blocking, in a sense whereby blocking is thinking of where your camera is going to go. So for example, right, I'm standing right now, talking to the camera. That's like the point of view of another character in the film, right? Then I need to think of, okay, if I need to show the expression of this character, my camera needs to turn. So I need to block. I need to see where to place the cameras. So thinking of that in your writing stages at a very early stage is also very good. And then bringing that to set and being on location itself will help you plan out your shoot better, so your shoot will be more smooth. Yeah. Then we have the long shot. Sometimes we call it wide shot also. So you can see the character in full. Usually it's to establish the scene. Like usually, you know, when you see certain films, right, they always start with a long shot. You see the whole location with the characters. It can also be used to establish a certain mood. For example, this shot right here, right, you can just see that the character is in the bus stop, raining. So the first thing you think that, oh, she's alone. She might be in danger, or it could be a start of a horror film. Then whereas this one is slightly different, there's a lot of light, they're in the forest, they're happy, they're running around. Yeah. And the shot sizes coincide with the choice of location as well as the color. So that actually changes the mood. Like, if I were to tell you that, don't look at the shot sizes, just look at the colors and the framing, it really gives you a certain emotion. Because that's how our brain processes visual imagery. Okay? So, everybody understand where I'm coming from? Can I just throw it out? So if I were a character right now, I get punched by someone. Right now, punched by someone. What shot would you use, Mr. Hasselblad? Why? Show the impact of what? Show the impact of the punch, right? And why wouldn't I use a long shot or wide shot? Depending on the emotion I put, exactly, because the shot choices that you choose is not just based on emotion, it's also based on practicality. Yes, it can be a creative decision whereby, oh, I want to show the whole action, like a long shot. Then, yes, but it may not be as impactful because you can't really feel the punch. Like, if you have watched Jackie Chan's movies, right, his shots are always very wide because he does it for real. He actually punches for real. So you can actually feel the impact. But these days, right, when you watch John Wick, that kind of movies, right, the action movies, Hollywood action movies, you always go for a close-up because they are trying to hide. So it's also about cutting points. Yeah? Okay? So I'm going to talk about camera level. Anybody know what's the difference between shot sizes and camera level? Don't shy, huh? Okay. So camera angle is actually the level of your camera, like the tripod, right? Which level you're going for. Like Josiah just now mentioned, right? The low angle actually gives you a certain emotion. So this is what we call a low angle POV, which is like from the point of view of whatever these characters are looking at. For example, the kids, they're probably looking at like a toy, an object, or an ant. It can be an ant point of view, or a pet. So that's why when you're shooting kids, right, you always have to go lower to see their level, unless you want to establish a different story. Yeah? And then this one is the famous Pulp Fiction shot from the car booth, you know, just after they want to kill someone and then they bring up the weapons from the car booth. So these are also creative decisions that you need to make at a writing process, if you can. If not, during your location recce or during your technical recce, like you're talking about the shots and stuff and blocking and doing your storyboards, it really brings out the story. Because when you're writing a script, you're saying that, character A is slapping character B, but then you cannot really visualize it. Then maybe it will work if character A is slapping character B from a close-up point of view or from a low-angle point of view, and then you can see why the person is being slapped. Maybe the house is messed up or something. There's a motivation for it. So high angle. This one, I think the TikTok generation love to do it, 0.5 and then high angle. Because it's really flattering angle for everyone. But there's also motivation in terms of the camera angle. Is to showcase how small your character is, or how small certain things are, or from a different point of view, in a sense whereby everything is scaled towards a certain perspective. If you look at this shot, right, there's a perspective in a sense whereby this man is alone in the tele booth, and then he's like, it's raining. It could be a horror film scene. It could be a scene where, you know, he just broke up with his girlfriend. It works in a way because he's small, so the composition. Whereas this one, it seems like this person is going through something in a sense whereby is learning or is doing research. Usually, right, when you see certain scenes where in the movies they want to showcase the character, you know, I'm learning about something, or maybe like I'm researching about the history of my company, then they will show a montage. Usually it's from the high angle, is to establish that, you know, he's deep in his thoughts and he's small. And then this one is very famously used in horror films, especially the Dutch angle. So the camera is tilted in a way whereby it showcases something that is happening that could be wrong, that is not right. That's why it's tilted. Your brain immediately knows that, okay, something's wrong. Like for example, in Creed, he got like one punch that can knock him out. Like, so the cinematographers actually decided to go for a Dutch angle to showcase that pain. And also, it's a medium close-up. So it's a combination of two elements, shot size and angle. Two different things, okay? Don't worry, I have resources for you all. Then for this scene is obviously from a horror film. Main character is sleeping, someone, the screen cannot really see, but someone standing at the back. Horror. Okay? Over the shoulder. So over the shoulder is usually used for drama. You want to see what's happening. It could be from over my shoulder to this character, or it could be literally over my shoulder and seeing the entire scene. Like this image is basically Batman at the end of the show, and he's looking at like, wow, sunrise, I saved Gotham City. So there's a sense of that. And if you look at it, it's actually a medium shot. You can see a lot of the landscape there. You're establishing what. So actually a lot of the lessons that I'm trying to impart to you guys, right, is the act of showing. Do you show more or do you show less? That actually creates tension and creates a visual imagery for your film. Yeah, sometimes showing less is better than showing more. Like for example, right, Robert Pattinson, right, his character, he's looking at someone, he's angry. He's like, I'm very angry. Then you see an over-the-shoulder shot. And if, for example, you don't show what he's looking at you, like as an audience, like what is he showing? And then accompany it with like very fast-paced music, something with tension, right? And then you will feel drawn into the scene. You feel what the character is feeling, like why is he so angry? So it actually creates engagement. Yeah. So when you're doing a film, think of what you want to show and what you don't want to show, and that would actually help with your plannings of your shots. Okay, first free gift for you all. Please scan this. It's quite in-depth, but this is what I've talked about, and there's actually a YouTube video inside it where you can actually see in-depth. Yeah, so scan it. Okay, everybody got it? Okay, more resources to come. Next one, lighting techniques. Singapore is quite hard to shoot in, to be honest. We're right on the equator line. The lighting can be quite harsh, and we only have certain amount of time that has very nice light. We're not Japan, we're not Taiwan. We don't have that beauty, okay? But I'm going to teach you briefly how to use certain lighting techniques and how to identify certain lighting scenarios. So this is two examples. A good example of frontal lighting where everything is well lit, and a bad example like backlit. Like like one of those tourist photos, right? That you ask your parents to take, right? But then it's like that. Yeah. But in film, there is no bad example. It's only motivation. So what you want to achieve out of that scene, it really depends on how you liked it and how you the story takes you. Okay? So for example, right, you want to show like someone who is mysterious in your film, you go for a close-up level shot with a backlit scene. Like this person is straight up mysterious. That's usually how we will set up a scene with a bad guy or someone who is trying to do something bad. For example, or you want to showcase like something that is very direct, something that is like, okay, I'm gonna go talk to this person, and then you cut to a close-up with a light of a person. Yeah, that's one way. So in Singapore, the best time to shoot is around 7 a.m. to 9. You can stretch it by a little bit for this kind of golden hour light. And then for the evening is about probably 5:30 to 7:30. If not, it will be very harsh. So I understand that a lot of you are still students, so you may not have the budget to shoot with lights. So do your research, understand where is the best time to go for a certain location that you want with natural light. So this is the first kind of lighting. From the very first filmmaker in the world, we use natural light. So it's free one. So you just need a camera, go there, and shoot already. But always plan in advance. So like it goes back to the pre-production stage of filmmaking, which is to understand what is within your limits, understand what you're working with, and then plan from there. So for example, right, like you wrote your script, okay? And then you head down to this location. Your script says that I need to shoot at night, but then you're shooting with iPhone, and there's no natural light. So then there needs to be a decision to be made to either get lights, or if you don't have budget, write the story in sunlight, or weave it into the story. Yeah, and it happens a lot, even in Hollywood films. Certain decisions are changed because of the environment. Okay, so this is called key light, which means that it's one source of light directly onto the talent. For example, right now I'm being lit by one key light, so it's hitting my face directly. Okay, it's usually to showcase something that is more dramatic, like this piano playing scene, something that's more in-depth, or you can go for a bit more lower angle light. Then it suddenly will become a horror short film, like the light hitting your face this way. Okay, so it's usually one source of light, and then this one, which actually we have been actually showing to every one of you from the start of this whole workshop, is the side light. So there's two side lights that are hitting my face, but you can't really see my face in light, right? So it's to also establish a certain mood. Usually it's to showcase night, a night scene, or something is emotional is happening to the character, right? The character is thinking about something, so you go for this. Like I said, it's showing or not showing. There's this joke that I actually heard from another filmmaker who said that, actually filmmaking, right, is about hiding things and turning and offing lights. It's essentially that. And it's really finding out what's the reason for all this, what's the motivation for all this. Yeah. So one is backlight. Sometimes we call it hair light. So it lights the hair or the back of your head, so you can actually see the separation from the background. It's usually used in a bit more well-lit situations. Like you see this scene from the bear, right? There's actually quite a few lights they're trying to showcase. And if the techniques is used correctly, it's a low angle, medium close-up of the main character cooking from the point of view of the dish, and you can see the intensity of him. And they specifically didn't lead his face fully, is to showcase the drama. Yeah. Then this one is from Oppenheimer, the silhouette scene. So the character is not in light, but then the scene is basically him walking towards a bunch of reporters and there's flashing. It's to create drama, create the sense of mystery. And this shot is one of the first shots in the trailer. People were like, wow, what is this character? What is he doing? So all these are decisions that need to be made when you're writing. And the most simple one, I call it simple, but it's 3-point lighting. It's basically one hair, one key light, and then one fill. Fill light is basically the additional light that you put on your side so that you are actually, it can be seen in your face. Okay, free resource for lighting. They'll go more in-depth in the video. Okay guys, they told me to hurry up, so I will try to give you as much as possible. Okay, if you have any questions, later we have a Q&A, okay? So sound is just as important as video. How many of you watch horror films? Can I have a hands? This guy, that guy, okay. Imagine horror, right? You watch a horror film, right? But there's no sound. Would it still be scary? No, right? Yeah, imagine, right? My character is like that, but then you cannot really hear me talking. You switch off, right? No matter what video is, no matter what film is this, right? So sound is very important in video, okay? So I'm just going to go quickly into sound techniques. So this is what we call a lapel mic. Okay, usually it's a wireless left mic. Sometimes when you see a long shot, right, there's no way for you to bring a boom in. So what we use is a wireless lapel, so we hide it in the actors. Unfortunately, this does cost some money, but there are ones that work with the smartphones. Okay, later if you want to know, you can come to me, I'll share with you some resources on where to get them. If not, we can go the super old school way, which is ADR. Which is you basically record your voice while you're editing. You dub over your own voice. That's free. You can even use your phone to do it, depending on the direction of your microphone on your phone. So that's one way. And of course, the traditional way is to use a shotgun mic. This shotgun mic is usually on the sound recordist. The boom man will actually boom it. Yeah, the boom operator will actually boom it. So that's usually 3 mics. And I think the best tool is the one that you have. So if you can't get close to your talent, you could always do another take where you're close to the talent and try to match it lip sync. Yeah. So that's one way we cheat. Yeah. So you see this whole scene, right? Like they're filming something, right? You see the whole crew. It's like the guy is like barely reaching, and then the cameraman and the gaffers. Yeah. Okay? So, free resource. Yeah, I think one thing that you need to consider during your recce process is also to hear the sound. Because Singapore is such a densely populated city, right? Like there's always noise. So do observe that when you're doing your location recce. Okay, I can't show you everything about editing for this segment, but I'm just going to go quickly run through the 5 cuts of editing. When you're editing, right, there's what we call the hard cut. It's essentially I put one video, another video clip, I cut it in the middle, I put it together. So character A, look at character B, then I cut to character B, then I cut back. That's a hard cut. Okay, there's nothing towards it. It's like very simple. Then there's the jump cut, which is now it's like a trend that YouTubers and TikTokers alike also use. So you jump, boom, 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 boom. Usually it's to showcase the passage of time. Usually it's to showcase a style. Like maybe you're trying to establish like this character is in a rush, so this character is running. Then you cut to the next point, then cut to the next point, cut to the next point. And then the other one is a match cut. Usually it's done in camera already. So basically, for example, you're shooting an image of me at a close-up, and then you cut to another close-up, same shot of another person, and then you time it to a music or you time it to a sound effect. That's what we call a match cut. Okay? Then there's the cross cut, which kind of ties into 2 different scenes. So for example, you're showing in the southern part of Singapore, this is happening, this character is doing this, then you cross cut to another character who is in the east of Singapore. Obviously 2 different places or 2 different timings, but 2 scenarios is happening. So before and after or after and before can be used interchangeably. And then the last one is montage. Montage is basically a montage, like a travel montage. That can be a montage as well, to showcase the passage of time, to showcase a certain amount of events that happen. Yeah, but this is a very brief summary. And also, I know that like a lot of you are starting out, so I've given you these are free. DaVinci Resolve, they are actually professional editing software that is made available free for everyone. Mac, PC, Linux, all can use. Okay. And if you are more of a TikToker, you can go CapCut, which is I'm sure most of you will find this very familiar. All available free. Okay. But the DaVinci Resolve is one that the industry actually uses. So if you manage to actually use this for the video competition, actually is good because it's you learn how to use something that's already standardized in the industry. Okay. Okay, Resolve 1. Go for it. It's actually a YouTube video about editing. Okay. Second resource, which talks about all the different cuts and then more that I've talked about. Some of it is a little bit more advanced, which I think that some of you will actually benefit from. Yeah. Second resource. Okay, so I'm going to showcase really quickly. Okay. Just for the sake of this thing. This is close to a $10,000 setup, courtesy of Nikon and Audio Technica and Cathay Photo. But this setup is for professionals. You don't need this to tell a good story. Yeah. Some of you look at this, wow, this is like super high end. Yeah. I also don't agree that most of you need this. But the best camera that you have is actually the one that you have on your phone. And nowadays, phones are really, really good. Like they can do almost everything already. You can even edit your whole video on the phone itself. So I think really understand what resources you have before you start is actually a good thing. And of course, like for some of you who has been making videos for a while now, you will also like go for something like a mirrorless camera. Like something simple, something small. You really don't need that much to actually make good content, because at the end of the day, Josiah is right. Actually, content is very important. The story is important. Nobody cares whether you shoot on a $10,000 camera. Nobody cares. As long as the story is good, the sound is good. Okay, everything's good. So thank you for your time. Sorry that it was a bit rushed, but if you have any question that you're paiseh to ask, just scan, email me, find me on LinkedIn, talk to me. I'll be here, and we'll have a short Q&A, I think. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Cal. Okay, so let's invite Cal and Josiah to be in the hot seats this time round. And we will have any questions. Any questions? Any questions? Hey, you're all very professional already. No questions about video editing? Yes, okay, thank you.
Hi, I just have like a really simple but also quite difficult question. I want to know like how can we prevent being cliche?
It is a very simple question but very difficult answer. The thing about cliche is usually because things are repetitive, like you've seen it before, right? So I think in storytelling you want to constantly try to evoke a certain emotion. So it's true when it's cliche, and if you show your friends or if you're writing it out, that's why even before filming it, make sure you write down the story, make sure you storyboard it, and when you discuss it with your friends, try to have a focus group of close people where they can tell you, oh, actually this part, I feel like I've seen it before. But with that being said, I want to also caveat that actually familiar things are not always that bad, because there's a certain structure in how things work, and sometimes that structure creates that familiarity for people to follow your story better. A lot of art films try to break away from that familiarity, they break the structure, and that's fine, but that might not be your objective for your stories in this particular case lah. Yeah. So I don't know whether I'm answering your question directly, but if I were to offer an advice, it's really you have to talk to people and ask, do you find that it's cliche? Yeah. Or don't even direct the question yet, just show and then try and see what the reaction is. And then after that first round of answers, yeah, I like this, I don't like this, then you ask those direct questions about whether or not it's cliche. Yeah. But that's a good question. The fact that you're asking it means that you have something in mind and you're aware of it. I think that's the first step.
Yeah, I second that. I actually think that sometimes familiarity is actually a better motivation for storytelling than whatnot. As filmmakers, we always try to outdo ourselves and we try to make better things and try to stand out. And trust me, the ideas are actually recycled and packaged in a different way. So I think the question you should ask yourself is, do I have a compelling story to tell? And if I do, the execution is a second thing that you need to ask. And one thing that I practice personally is I talk to my not so boomer dad. I'll give him some ideas. I'll tell him, hey, Dad, I got this idea for this film, I got this idea for this story. And if he's like, I've heard it, because he's older, so it actually helps me to be fresh in that sense. And then I will take that modified idea and I'll ask someone who is younger than me. So there's an in-between, you see. There's always freshness and there's always the edgier kind of content. You want something that's in between. Yeah. And I think that's the hard part. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Sorry, maybe if I can add is, in the grander scheme of things, I think what industry practitioners and filmmakers do is they try to consume a lot. So that gives you a whole palette of things that you can do, so that you don't keep watching the same things, because watching the same things also then runs into the risk of making you create things which are cliche and of the same kind. So I force myself to watch films which I don't enjoy and to watch films which I know on Rotten Tomatoes like 30%. Yeah. And there are things which I like from those films and there are things which I don't like. Create your own taste, and create your own palette. In fact, we were having this discussion, a bit off topic, but with the rise of AI, right, a lot of people are very scared that their jobs are going to be stolen and all that. And I think that discussion led us to actually discover that one thing that will never change is the human taste. of knowing what works and what doesn't work, that intuition that is inherent in all of us as humans, because we are emotional people at the end of the day. We have emotions lah, yeah. And to develop that and to prepare yourself even for AI, you have to consume a lot. You have to know what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I second that. I think when you watch a certain kind of content, and especially now like YouTube, TikTok algorithms, they actually tailor to your taste of like, oh, you watch one of this video and then I give you hundreds, and then you watch one more, I give you 200, and then you become an echo chamber. You see, you're just watching the same content that you like, and you're not tasting other content. And I think that's not very good practice for someone who wants to create content, because you need to be exposed to all. I also do the same thing to myself. I also watch things that I really don't like, just to understand. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
Hi, hello. I just want to ask, like, do you have any recommendations, like, where we can rent equipment, like audio or video equipment?
Yeah, there's quite a few. You can just search rent camera Singapore, but the one that I personally use is Camera Rental. Not endorsing anyway, I'm just using them. But normally I don't rent because of my career. I actually buy. It's cheaper to buy than to rent lah. But you don't need to buy. Like I said, you don't need a $10,000 camera. The one that you have with you is the best. Yeah.
Great, thank you. You have any recommendations or?
SG camera rental, is it? What's the thing for
CRC.
them to? CRC.
Yeah, CRC.
Yeah.
Camera rental.
So Google CRC.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Questions? Okay, maybe I have one. Talking about this cliche, right? The first question. I was thinking of, those Thai advertisements? They're super awesome, right? You never expect what they're actually selling. Yeah. So how do we cultivate the kind of creativity to come up with such twists at the end? Yeah.
Interesting question. I've spoken to a few Thai practitioners before because of my work, and they used to tell me that they start with the end in mind. So basically, what is that final thing that you're actually trying to tell people, and then you reverse engineer it. So if it's about, for example, that ad that we saw, the Petronas ad, if it's about trying to say that human connections are more important than the income or the career that you have, then you basically want to reverse engineer that in a way. It's a bit hard to explain in a setting like that, but I think it's important to first recognize what is that. They call it the big idea. What's the big idea that you're trying to show? And actually, based on whatever that's been discussed today, your big idea is basically drug abuse is not victimless. So keep ruminating on that and then reverse engineer. How can you show victims? How can you present victimless on camera? What are the steps and the story points that lead you to recognize that it's not actually victimless? Yeah. In fact, okay, maybe I give you a quick tidbit of possible inspiration. If you want to use, you can use. But because it's out there, I don't know whether everyone's going to use it. Okay. So for example, if let's say it's a point of view, because just now Carl was saying, oh, low angle, point of view of an ant. But what if it's the entire film is shot from a point of view of a child, and then you don't actually know that it's the point of view of a child. You want to review at the end of the day, so you reverse engineer that the child is actually present all the while. And because of that revelation, actually I've been watching it from the lens of a child. When you finally break your camera out of that low angle to a slightly higher angle and you show the child on the floor, yeah, that shocks you, right? That's the twist at the end of the day. And that's reverse engineering it, because I want to show that the child is a victim. Yeah, then you ask yourself these questions, long. Yeah, so that's an example. Yeah.
Oh no, now everyone's videos will be from the point of view of a child.
It'll be interesting to see what you guys come up with. Yeah. So that's just one example, okay? Yeah.
Okay, cool. How about Cal?
Yeah, I agree that thinking of the endpoint, it's like part of what I mentioned just now, the pre-production, the whole process of filmmaking is planning. If you really think about the story and how it ends first, you eventually have an entire story, rather than like, oh, I just want to show that drugs is bad. Like, drugs is not victimless, right? Then from a point of view of an infant or from the point of view of a child, you can establish that. And then like what he mentioned, the payoff, like you show at the end, you pull out the camera, a track out shot, and then you go back eye level from the adult's point of view, and then you see a child. Then you're like, oh, it's from the point of view of a child. Then that's when the payoff is very good. And I think the Thais have done it very well. They always hook you in with something ridiculous, and then, you know, like, then the payoff is, you know, like for example, the ad, whatever and anything, the drinks, do you guys remember the ads? Maybe some of you are too young, a bit too young. But basically it's a story of two people are asking, where is whatever and anything? Then this guy doesn't seem to know, and then they beat him up. And turns out they just want a drink that's called whatever and anything. So that's like a simple payoff, yeah.
Great, thank you. Now, if you're not very sure about, you know, what these Thai advertisements are all about, please just go and Google, okay? It's amazing. They are really brilliant at what they do. Yeah.